Contrary to popular belief, while normal modern penguin cannot fly, Dino Penguin attempted to make the first flight. He would cobble together the bones of dead dinosaurs and attempted to make his own primitive glider. Are we ready to take on your first flight? Don't rush me! Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and today we're taking a look at another Kingdom Transformer. We've got the next in the Fossilizers. This is Wingfinger. Now Wingfinger, of course, is another one of them that he breaks apart and becomes Bone Age-styled weapons. And, of course, he also forms a dinosaur skeleton. As you can see by here attached to his back, he is going to form a pterodactyl. Of course, I find it kind of ironic. I don't know how well you can see it here on the camera, but one of the weapons he can transform into is a giant bow for a transformer to use. And in this position here, the way he's standing, his shadow kind of gives the same shape as a bow. Trust me, folks, that was not planned, but it's kind of funky to see. Wingfinger is said to be a maximal, so he would be on the good guy's side, unlike many of these. And apparently the pieces up here are reused from Paleotrex. So once again, Hasbro cheapness. But all in all, a rather interesting looking figure, to say the least. A lot of the fans have sort of dubbed him as a ninja-like figure due to having these little swords, which are actually just the ends of the wings. But of course, if you don't want to store them in his hands, each of them does have a square hole on both sides, and they can easily be connected to a post on the backside of his arms. That way, thus, if you really wanted to get creative, you can put the dinosaur head in his hands instead. That looks... let's just admit it, that just looks rather stupid. Alright, we've removed his swords for the moment. We'll show off all the loose pieces for him later when we have him broken down. But we'll take this time to show off Wingfinger's articulation. He can turn his head from side to side. Unfortunately, it does rock downwards, but it doesn't rock upwards per se. That's mainly due to this piece here at the back. It prevents his head from going back any further. You can raise his arms up about so far. And his arms do rotate at the shoulders all the way around. You can bend his arm at the elbow 90 degrees. And there is a swivel at his shoulders. So it sort of gives him some G.I. Joe style battle grip. He can be twisted at his midsection, not at his hips per se. His legs do spread apart into a full splits. He can have his legs turned at the lower leg below his knees. You can raise his legs up at the hip 180 degrees, giving him a better kicking style than the Rockettes. And he can also bend his leg at the knee a little over 90 degrees. He also has articulation at his ankles. So all in all, Wingfinger has a lot of posing options available to him. The trick is to keep him standing afterwards. Now we're going to transform Wingfinger. And he does that in small minor steps. First step, of course, would be to make sure he's not holding on to his swords. Then we turn him around and we're going to remove the dinosaur head. Then we'll come up here to his real robot head and we're going to pull the crest down so it covers his eye. Then we're going to rotate his arms upwards, like so that he's kind of in an I surrender pose. And then right here, as you can see along the top, there's a couple of rectangular-like holes. Well, those are going to connect to these posts right here next to his head. So you may have to wiggle and adjust a little bit to get those in. Just exactly like that. Okay, once you've got those in, you'll rotate his hands so that the fists are facing you. You can see the thumbs. And then we will separate him. So all you've got is a set of legs. Or about what some Mortal Kombat characters look like after a fatality. We'll come down here and we're going to bend him at the hip. So now it looks like a walking gun. We'll spread his legs apart into a full splits. You'll rotate the legs at the knee, or at the area below the knee, so that the dinosaur claws face forward. Like that. And then you will take the two swords. You're going to plug each one of them into a foot. Plug it in so the curve goes outwards. Just like that. And now you will get the dinosaur head. I want you to make sure that this post here at the back of the head is folded upwards. And you kind of move this lower one outwards a bit, because you're going to plug it in here. Just like that. Then, of course, you will get the remainder of the body, holding it exactly like this, where you got the dinosaur claws pointing upwards, and you will plug it in into the back, like so. And then there you have it. You have a skeletal pterodactyl. Certainly not as impressive as the robotic pterodactyl that we had for Swoop, or even the pterodactyl that the Power Rangers used. But it certainly comes off looking better than the origami one made out of the Little Caesars pizza box from those ads all those years ago. No, I won't do the bad sound effects either. I'll spare those of you who have never seen that. The horror. And of course, for posability of our pterodactyl, well, we can rock the head up and down a bit. And of course, it does turn. And of course, as you saw earlier, we can open the mouth. There is articulation at the wings, so we can flap the arms, I should say. We don't exactly have wings. And we can bend his legs a little bit. So in all, you get a few display options for a bony pterodactyl. Now let's start breaking him apart so that we can see his loose parts. The first step, of course, is we remove his head, and we'll set that aside. Then they want us to remove the body, separate the body out. We'll set the wings aside for the moment because they want us to work with this end here. We can remove the lower arms. And then we spread out the rib cage here, and then that prepares that piece. No, that doesn't prepare it. You just rotate them down. Now it's prepared. And we get the wings in here. Remove the swords. Just exactly like that. And then we get ready to remove the legs right at the hip. And actually, what we remove is the lower portion, but the hips stay on. But at least with this way, you know they come off. Alright, let's have a look at all the loose pieces here. Here, of course, is the dinosaur head. You have here 2 swords, or the wing tips. You have 2 hands, one right and of course one left. You got 2 sets of feet, which they are not identical, as they are mirrors of their opposite side. So do bear that in mind if you're buying one loose. And of course we got the upper body. And then we have the lower body. And as you saw, the hip bone, the upper leg bones here are removable from it as well. And they, again, are not the same. They are mirrors of each other. And only the one has a number stamped on it in red on the bone. So there you have it. All of Wingfinger's loose pieces. Now, like with many of these, they can be rebuilt into weapons for your Transformers. And we'll show off both of them here right now. For the first one, we're going to take the lower body here. You make sure that this piece here is pointing downwards. And then you will take the 2 swords and you plug them into both of the holes. And then there's your weapon 1, a bow and arrow. Well, mainly just a bow. Transformer Wikia calls it a crossbow, but, well, we'll see how it looks. Now, the back of the box, they use tracks, since tracks was released at the same time, but we're going to go with the instructions, and we're going to use wheeljack. Mainly because for the other mode, wheeljack looks better with it than tracks does. And you would basically just plug in the hook post onto a side hole on wheeljack's arm. Does tend to make him a little top heavy here. Why don't we bend his arm a little bit there, and there we go. That keeps Wheeljack upright. And there we go. Wheeljack has a bony crossbow. Looks kind of silly, doesn't it, folks? Alright, we'll put Wheeljack aside here. We'll take the swords out. Now, to build the other set of weapons, well, once again, we need this, but first we gotta rotate the post back upright. And then you would attach the feet back into it like so. Then once you got the feet in, you can attach we got these in backwards. Excuse me a second, we got these in backwards. You put it in so that way the things go on right. Oop. Should have just done that in the first place. Attach the swords into the feet. Then you want to bend them in a way so that they point downwards. Like this. And that's one part of it. For the second part, you will get the body portion, and then you will take the head and you will connect it via the hole just behind the jaw to make a crude club. And then now we will bring this out. We attach the large wing assembly onto Wheeljack's backside. The dinosaur feet, you'll rotate so that the claws are pointing upward, and we can attach them here to Wheeljack's shoulders. Like so. And then get the large dinosaur head club and put it in his hands. And, well, there you have it. Wheeljack looks like he's some sort of capable of bony flight with a dinosaur head club. Yeah, it looks kind of weird, but the assembly of the wings here on his backside almost invokes the look of Unicron with his demon-like wings. Think about it here, folks. If you don't remember that portion, go back and watch the animated movie again. Watch it when Unicron transforms. You tell me if this does not sort of invoke the idea behind his demon wings. Now, I said it looks weirder on tracks, and we'll show it to you here on the box. As you can see, for tracks, you have to rotate the piece so that way it sticks up further due to the placement of the hole on Trax's backside. So, in many ways, it looks a little better on Wheeljack, because on Trax it just sticks up a little too high and just looks totally weird. Now, getting down to my thoughts, I think Wingfinger is a bit of a stretch for these figures. I mean, at least back with the Bone Age idea that was done by Kenner Toys back in the 90s, their pterodactyl skeleton at least had the filaments that was the wings itself. Granted, those don't preserve since they're not bone. but it at least allowed for a little more interesting look. When Wingfinger is in his pterodactyl mode, he just looks incomplete. But then again, it's not like I've been to any museums that have dinosaur skeletons. So I guess in a lot of ways I'm depriving myself of that. But all in all, it isn't a bad figure. The bow and arrow look, or crossbow, however you want to call it, it's not a bad look for a Transformer. Although being made out of bones, it looks a little weird next to him, but it comes off as acceptable. This glider portion thing, a lot of that is going to depend on which Transformer you attach it to. On Wheeljack here, it doesn't look too bad. With it having to stick up so far on tracks, it just looks weird. But I guess that's why they leave it open for all of us to pick who we want it to be with. So, find the one that works for you and go with it. At any rate, that's my review of the Kingdom toy of Wingfinger. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And I ask you all to please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel, because we really do appreciate the feedback around here. This is Sparkster1701 reminding you that while Wingfinger and many of his comrades are extinct, let's not go extinct ourselves. Do cherish and preserve all life. I'll catch you all later.